Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting, awesome episode of Paranormal Activities with your host, Ben Axe. Here in just a few minutes, I have paranormal investigator Steph Brady here joining the show to talk about her investigations down near and by and in Houston, Texas. And she's going to tell us all about how she cleanses homes with her team and all she does down there. But first, huge shout out to all of the awesome listeners, all of you guys who continue to listen, like, share, all of that. I really super appreciate all of you, and you're all fantastic. And again, I also have to do a huge thank you to everythingentertainment.com for putting up with my nonsense and letting me put my shows on there as well. And that's pretty much all of the thanks I'm going to give for right now. And also, please, if you want, I don't really care, I'm not going to beg you, but if you want to buy merchandise of Paranormal Activities, go to teespring.com, and I have t-shirts, coffee mugs, all kinds of cool stuff there. I'm going to add some more. It's actually, it's been a minute since I added to that store. I've been busy, but it's getting cooler outside. Fall is a-coming, so I'm going to add some winter merch, I think, and buy myself a hoodie. That sounds exciting. So, all that's out of the way, let's get right into the show. Episode 24, I believe, actually. And this is my favorite part of the show, the Axettivity of the Week. Yeah, man. So I don't really have like a direct paranormal experience, I guess, from this past week. I just did an episode, how long ago was it? 6 days now, I guess, so almost a week. But I do have an update, kind of, or at least something to think about regarding a previous activity of the week from a few weeks ago. So I think I told you guys a while back, and if not, here it is. But I'm pretty sure I've told you guys a story. But a while back, on Halloween season, my wife and I, we decorate our house kind of ridiculously. You would think we would have kids, but we don't. It's just for us. And for the last 4 years, we have had like fake knives that hang around the ceiling of our kitchen, and they dangle down. And, just like on a rope, bunch of different fake knives on a rope. And, we got them 4 years ago. And we put them in storage, at the end of last season. And a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, one of these knives happened to be, or just showed up one night or one morning in the living room under the coffee table. It was by itself. And the funny thing is, all of these knives, they're on a rope. There's no single knives. That being said, and they did cut some of the ropes to make them shorter to fit properly. But as far as I can tell you, there were no single knives. But a few weeks ago, I came downstairs in the morning, and one of the knives, this is before we unpacked anything Halloween, this was back in probably August still, maybe July, but I think August, early August, and it was just sitting on their coffee table in the living room. No idea how it got there, no idea where it came from. I think I said the first time that we do have a kitten, and maybe she found it somewhere. I don't even know where she would have found it if she did, because all of our Halloween stuff was in storage in the upstairs closet behind a projector screen. So there is no way she could have got in that closet. No way the cat could open up, boxes of stuff. So I'm not sure where it came from. So fast forward to last week, we get our Halloween merchandise, our Halloween stuff out of storage and to decorate, because that's our Labor Day tradition these days. And, like I said earlier, these knives were kind of our staple. We've been decorating for 4 years now, and that's like one of the first things we bought together, and that's our favorite decoration, actually. That's like our favorite. We talk about it throughout the year sometimes. And so we get all this stuff out of storage, we open it up, and it just so happens that we have like a Halloween snow globe that broke while it was in storage over this past year. So there was just water sitting in this box for the past year, or 10 months at least. And ruined all those knives. They were all ruined. There was mold in the box. It was, we had to toss them. There was no salvaging these knives. And I'm kind of a, what do you call it, nostalgic guy, into my feelings sometimes on certain things, I guess. Nostalgic, I think, is the word. Sentimental is the word too, I suppose. And so I was pretty bummed about that, because those are the original knives that we've had for 4 years, and they're all destroyed. Except for this one mysterious knife that just for some reason was downstairs in the living room one morning a few weeks ago. Still don't know where it came from, but it is in perfect condition. Granted, it's by itself somehow, but it's still in good shape. It was not ruined by the mold that was in that box. So I have to ask, is that a weird coincidence? Did maybe one of those knives fall a year ago and the cat just happened to find it on the floor a couple weeks ago somewhere in the kitchen, which makes no sense, Or maybe was it a paranormal entity knowing that those are getting ruined and it decided to save one for us because it knew how sentimental we were towards these knives? I don't know. Both don't seem likely. Both seem equally far-fetched, in my opinion. I mean, it's easier to say the cat did it because it's not a paranormal entity, but there is no way that this brand new kitten could have found a knife that we had put away a year ago. So I thought that was an interesting thing to discuss, I guess. I have no idea. It's weird. But luckily for us, we did go to Meijer over the weekend, and we did find the exact same knives. We got the original ones at Meijer 4 years ago. Went to a different Meijer, and they still stock them every year. So we got the exact same ones. Granted, I am sentimental, and I know in my heart it's not the ones, but they look identical as it's the exact same thing. So I'm still happy, and our house still looks complete with those new ones. But we do have one old one that did not get ruined in the moldy watered box. And I don't know how or why, but that is going to wrap up my paranormal activity of the week. So let's go ahead and get right into it with Miss Steph Brady. She's a paranormal investigator down in Houston, Texas. And before we begin, you guys can check her out at www.spiritparanormalinvestigationstexas.com. Again, that is www.spiritparanormalinvestigationstexas.com. And you can also find her on Facebook at Spirit Help Houston. Again, that is on Facebook at Spirit Help Houston. So let's go ahead and talk about her and her investigations here on Miss Steph Brady. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Thank you very much for being on the show. I'm very excited to talk to you. I love talking to people from all over the country, so it's great to have you on.
Yeah, it's great to be on. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you. So basically, I know we hooked up on LinkedIn, and actually you're the first. I just recently made that account on LinkedIn, and you're the first person that I have on the show from there. So that's pretty exciting.
Cool. It's a great place to network, I've found.
I agree with that. And I've always had one, for my professional job or whatever, and I never even thought about doing it for the podcast until somebody else recommended it. I'm like, well, I might as well give it a shot. And right away, I had pretty good results. So that's definitely agree with that.
Exactly. I had a business coach who challenged me to get 1,000 connections, and I'm a bit of an overachiever. So I'm working on 20,000 right now.
Dang. I think I have like 10. So that's awesome.
You'll get there, definitely.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you being on the show. I know you're from Houston, Texas, and you have a website called www.spiritparanormalinvestigationtexas.com. Tell me about that a little bit. Like, what's that website about, and what's your history with the paranormal?
It just basically tells our modality, how we work, how we investigate, our belief system, what we believe about the spirits. The clients are always number one. We also believe that the spirits deserve love and compassion too, as well as respect. So we never go out there and do religious provocation or anything. In fact, we always put in a crossing over ceremony before we do the final cleanse. Awesome. So all that information is on the website. And then I got into it basically in college. I had a boyfriend that was killed in a motorcycle accident. And for the next 3 nights after that, I'd wake up and there'd be a white figure mist in front of me. I'd try and move to get up and it would go right in front of me. My roommate even woke up and saw it. And then the day of the funeral, that was the last time I'd ever seen that. So I kind of stayed home, raised my kids, but still had that passion. And once the last one was out the door, I was I worked with the team for a while and learned a lot. And then I started my own team about 4 years ago.
Well, that's awesome. That's a pretty interesting experience there for first experience. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, I'm working on 13 years experience now. So, and I love doing research on all this.
That's awesome. Absolutely. And I find like a lot of investigators, or not even investigators, but a lot of people who are into the paranormal just get into it for like the shock and awe value and not the research and not the history.
Well, and then they don't use protection. It's not very well advertised on the TV. And then they get scratched their attachments and then they don't know what to do about it.
Absolutely. And it's funny you bring up attachments. I did a whole episode about attachments and how that is a real thing and how people don't realize that. And so it really is a field. And I think as the time is passing, this field is getting more popular and more educated. But yeah, a lot of people still just go into a haunted house or whatever and just think it's fun.
Yelling at them. You know, we went to it's an old hospital, and the nuns ran it. And they didn't like tattoos. They didn't like men. So I would go up there and there'd be men standing in the room going, "Come on, nun, do you like my tattoo?" And just sitting there yelling at them and baiting them on.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So that's also you enjoy the investigation. So I know you mentioned, you talked about that on the website. So you started investigating around 4 years ago. So tell me a little bit about...
Well, actually 13 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you got that's right.
Yeah. I started a team about 4 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what made you start your own team? What made you kind of change shifts there?
I like to be the boss, and I had my own way of beliefs, different from them. They were very good and taught me a lot, but it was time for me to move on, basically.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of the same way, I think. I would have a hard time working with people that not disagree with, I guess, but just are different than myself.
Right. I was doing most of the work, and I figured as long as I'm doing that, I might as well have my own team.
Absolutely. 13 years in the business, that's quite a long time. So where are some of the best places or your most memorable places, I guess, that you, like, where do you go? Like, what kind of places do you typically investigate, and how far do you travel?
We've traveled 2 hours outside of the Houston area, up to 2 hours, and we generally do homes.
Okay.
And we investigate and cleanse them out for the people. If they have activity, I use herbs, essential oils, and holy water and anointed oil in my cleanses. So I always come with a mild cleanse, an evil spirit cleanse, and then a demonic cleanse.
Oh, there you go.
So I just pull it out whenever I need.
That's really interesting. I don't cleanse. I cleanse my house about once a week, I think, and I just use white sage primarily.
I use Palo Santo.
So what's the difference between like that and white sage? Like, what's the difference with those two things?
Well, Palo Santo is growing. It's a tree. It's grown in South America, and it means magic wood. It's a lot stronger than sage. And sage, you have to put back a positive intention every time you cleanse. And with Palo Santo, you don't. It takes out the negativity and puts back in the positivity for you.
Interesting. I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm jotting that down.
Do the resin. I use the charcoal tablets with the resin. That works a lot better. The sticks are hard to keep lit.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
And it's just like, I just asked because, like, I mentioned before we went live that or on the air anyway, I mentioned that my wife is kind of like a medium or tracks certain things. So we cleanse because of that. And if it's something that we don't have to really mentally use, that makes a lot of sense.
It does. She's like a beacon to the spirit world because they're looking for people that can understand them, talk to them, notice them.
Yep, absolutely.
And so people like your wife they're drawn to her.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. Which is cool. So I'm empathic.
Are you?
Intuitive. Yeah, and I have some mediumship skills. I'm not a full medium, but I do have some skills like remote viewing, things like that.
That's interesting. So I don't really know, honestly. What is the difference between an empath and a medium?
An empath feels things very deeply, feels feelings of people. With me, I feel the animals just, I mean, I can't even look at the dodo things on Facebook. My heart breaks physically. So you feel things extremely, extremely deeply. And then the medium speaks to the dead, basically, can see or hear the spirits or smell different smells. Yeah. I do have one thing where if something bad's going to happen, I have a certain smell. I don't know what to call it. I just call it my paranormal smell.
There you go.
And within a few days, something will happen. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I don't like it, but it's there.
Yeah. It'd be interesting, I think. I definitely don't have any of those kinds of abilities that my wife has, and she talks about it. And I think it'd be kind of terrifying at times.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The more you investigate, the more it's going to bring out your gifts.
Right. And that's a very good point. Once I started doing this podcast I started talking about it last October. And before that, we lived in the house for over a year with no experiences. Since we started talking about doing this show, experiences every week. So that's definitely a true thing.
Good experiences or bad?
Both. Primarily good. There's been a couple of bad ones, and that's when we really bring out the sage and the mental making them leave kind of thing. But for the most part, excellent.
That kind of, or does your wife, does she speak to them, or
she can?
Or does she speak to them or hear?
Both. She can do both.
Awesome.
Just a quick story. I think I talked on the show a while back, but we used to live in an apartment, and she was still trying to figure out what was going on with her mind and stuff. And she's had some crazy shit happen to her in the past. And one night we were hanging out, and she just kept telling me that there was a lady trying to talk to her. And I'm like, okay. And like she was telling me about it, whatever. She's like, I need to go outside in the woods, because like the complex we lived in was surrounded by woods. And so she's like, I need to go there now. I'm like, that's kind of crazy. But she was very persistent, and we went out there. And apparently what my wife told me was the lady talking to her lived in that same area when she was a kid, and back when there were more woods, because it's since been kind of turned into an apartment complex, and that there was a ribbon out there that she likes and blah, blah, blah. And she found an old ribbon that was like in the middle of like a wooded area. And then it was pretty wild. And then she just said the spirit talked to her because she could, and that she just had a good time being in those woods when she was a kid, and my wife could hear her, so she talked to her about it. And that was pretty much how it went. But
awesome. Then did she crossed over, and she just wanted to talk?
That was it. She just wanted to talk. That was, as far as I can tell you, that was the only time she talked to that particular spirit. So I think it was just wanted to talk to her at that time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's interesting. So tell me about your abilities. So when did you realize that you were an empath?
Gosh, long time. I've been that way my whole life, quite frankly. I realized it fully about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And in fact, I take in rescue animals.
Oh.
Especially the ones with PTSD. I go to they take the scared ones, the trembling ones, and they don't even put them out there. They just put them directly for youth, to euthanize. So those are the ones I go for.
That makes sense. It's funny you say that, because we did the exact same thing. We have a pit bull rescue that still has PTSD, and it's a constant, teaching him that he's safe here. But that's absolutely the same way. Exactly.
Does yours still jump? Mine does.
Oh yeah, he's a big scared baby. He's 3 years old now, and we got him when he was six or 8 months old, and he still shows signs of. You can tell he was abused when he was a puppy.
Right. Yeah, you can get rid of some of them, but I'm finding I'm taking him to 2 or 3 behavior specialists, and they just say he's going to be like this.
Yeah.
He's so abused. We got him. He had machete marks all over him. And, cigarette burns. It's just, I don't get people.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like animals way more than people. We have 2 cats and 1 dog, and
yeah.
I like.
There you go. I know. It sounds like us.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
So then the intuition came about. I've always been into it. I did shut it down for 7 years, so I'm gradually trying to get it back. But it helped me in one case. I've got a case that's an elemental, And it's a dwarf. And that came to me. And when I asked it, it went just like that shit wild on all my instruments, letting me know that I was right.
That's wow. So what is an elemental? What does that mean?
There's like earth, air, fire, and air. Like fairies are the air, dwarfs and trolls are like the earth. And I've been trying to get rid of him for over a year. And I've come to the conclusion, well, I feel really deeply that they just kind of plopped the house on his home. And he's a ticked off little dude. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And he bothers my clients when they lay down to go to sleep. He's jumping on them. He's jumping on the bed. He's pulling their hair. He's poking at them all night long for 7 years.
Wow.
We've done everything. We've brought in shamans. The only thing I haven't done, because I am unable to contact them, as far as bringing an Indian tribe to bless the land. But yeah, we've done everything. And that one night he attacked my car.
what does that mean? Like, what did he do to your car?
He had drained the battery completely, so I was totally dead. I'm waiting for AAA to come, and all of a sudden the headlights start flashing on and off. The horn goes, so all the radio's going off and on, and the whole dashboard instruments is blinking on and off. And my teammate just goes, "What are you doing? Get out of there!" I'm trying to turn it off, but I couldn't turn it off because it wasn't on. So that was his way, I guess, of telling me to stay away.
That's fair. I think I'll probably just go ahead and stay away.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I found it kind of funny. I go into these things, and for some reason I don't have a lot of fear.
Oh yeah.
Which is good, because they don't attack. I believe they don't attack me because of that.
That makes sense. And I honestly do believe I'm kind of the same way. I don't really, when I'm doing these things or talking to spirits or whatever I'm doing, I don't really fear a lot of fear either.
Yeah.
And I think that gives you kind of power over some of them, if that makes sense.
No, exactly. They can't get your energy and work off of it. They just, because there isn't any there for them. So that's what I always tell the clients, don't yell at them. Don't show anger. Don't show fear, because they're going to pick up on your energy and just take it and make it worse for you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So these clients went ahead and remodeled. They're remodeling right now.
That's interesting. So here's a question for you then. So I a lot of the things that I've seen or read about is possibly when you do remodel, that could make the spirits that are there angry or upset. So are they experiencing?
In fact, that's a lot of my clients come from that. They had just remodeled, and all of a sudden there the activity starts. And I believe the activity at the elemental house has gone up.
No, is that right?
And I warned them before. I said, look, it's going to go up. But they're pretty determined. I don't think they don't want to get that problem to somebody else. I admire that. But then again, it's their space, and they don't want to give it up.
That makes sense. So it's kind of like two sides arguing over the same space.
Exactly. Like I said, he won't do EVPs. He just communicates via the REM pod, things with lights and noise, that kind of thing. And the client did see a short figure with like a pilgrim's hat run by one time. And so we've seen a short on the SLS camera, a short figure always, and a tall figure. So we know there's two spirits there. We just don't know what the taller one is.
So it sounds like they've been here for a while then.
Oh yeah. From what I understand, the previous owners kind of moved, according to the neighbor, very fast. And they gave an excellent price to my clients. So it's kind of a little bit, telling.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's been there for a while, definitely.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I don't know what, we'll have to wait and see, but I've heard elementals are impossible to get rid of, and I'm believing it now.
I believe that as well. So, was your goal as an investigator, like you mentioned earlier, just to cleanse the house and to help the spirits move on?
Yes, exactly. We always do a crossing over ceremony before we do the final cleanse. And I kind of try and reassure them. Some of them don't know that they're dead. So I try and let them gently know that. Let them know that I don't believe that they're going to run into a lot of judgment over there, that they've got friends and family that are waiting for them. And I call in the archangels, especially Archangel, I always have a problem pronouncing this, but Azrael, Azrael is how I pronounce it. He's the Archangel of Death. He's the good one.
Gotcha.
He helps cross people over, and he also helps the grieving back here, people that are grieving. Okay. So I call on him too.
Makes sense. A lot. I've actually heard of him. I've heard of that archangel in the past.
Yeah. So, in fact, we did that last night, and I called this morning. She said things are great. So I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Oh, absolutely. Excellent. So that's why you're always out until like 4 a.m.
Exactly. It's a busy time. I don't know because of the pandemic or Halloween's coming up or what, but yeah, we're getting a lot of calls.
Well, let's talk about that. That's a good point. I listened to another podcast called Haunted AF, and they talk about the pandemic a little bit. And so since the pandemic happened, have you had like higher experiences or higher calls, or like how has the pandemic affected your business?
It's gone up, I'd say 100%. I get like 2 or 3 calls a week now. I'm booked all the way through October now.
Oh, wow.
And it's still, I'm getting clients that want to do it.
So I want to know, like, I wonder why that is. My theory could be is people are home now, and so they have more opportunities to see ghosts or feel the experiences or whatever. Is that like a good theory, do you think?
It's a great theory. Yeah, that's what I believe too. And I'm also running into a lot of people with gifts. And like I say, and like you were saying, they're like a beacon, you know, to the spirit world. So there's more. And I try and tell them, I can cleanse, but they'll probably come back, or different ones will.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so.
Oh, makes sense.
And they're okay with that, as long as they're not evil.
That's fair. So in your business, I'm just really curious now, when it comes to evil versus good spirits, what's the ratio there, do you think?
About 50-50, I think. You know, a lot of it is, if you're an evil person when you die, you're going to be an evil person when you pass.
Gotcha.
You have the same personality, unless you work on yourself, like anything. They have to work on themselves and get to a higher plane once they pass over. And some of them don't want to do that, especially earthbound. There's a lot of reasons that they can be earthbound. And one of them is that they're angry and have a vendetta, and they stick around to make sure that happens. Another one is they have a message to give to somebody. They're attached to people's energy, the body. They don't want to be dead, so they hang around people.
That makes sense. I don't want to.
Yeah, it does. It does, definitely. So, you know, so I feel like it's a lot of counseling, you know.
Yeah.
With the spirit. So.
Oh, fair enough. So how often do you do these investigations? Like, is it on the weekends only, or during the week, or like how often do you think you're doing this?
Right now it's about twice a week.
Okay.
I do one weekday and then I do a Saturday usually, because I've got a teacher on the team. There's only 3 of us right now.
Gotcha.
And a teacher on the team, and she has to be up early, like at 5 o'clock the next morning. So I try and keep it to one day a week.
That makes
weekday.
Sense. That's fair.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but we're getting busy enough I can do 3. So I'm looking to add some new members now. That's 1 excellent. Or 2.
I know, so, being from Houston, I'm sure there's plenty of people to choose from. That's a pretty big area.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking there's a guy, a guy would be nice, you never know who I do background checks on everybody, because you never know who you're going to run into.
That is so funny you brought that up, because just earlier today I was reading through like a paranormal investigation thread on Facebook, and I never thought about it, but somebody brought up how you need to do a background check on people you're bringing into your house, and that's a very great point.
I do that, and I have a concealed weapon license, so I carry every time I have an investigation.
That's a good idea. I'd recommend that as well. I'm all about carrying a weapon,
so I just put it on and pray that I don't ever have to use it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that won't work on spirits, I guess. So I guess I'm more afraid of people than I am spirits anyway.
Exactly. Me too. Without a doubt.
So I know this is just going to be like a rough number, but in the last, since you started your own investigation team, how many houses do you think you've cleansed?
I'd say about 50.
Okay.
Running into that number. And then we do a couple times a year, we go do a fun investigation. We try to.
That's cool. That's kind of what I'm getting into more, I think, is not necessarily the cleansing, because I don't consider myself qualified to do that, but I do enjoy going to locations and seeing what I can find and that kind of stuff. And I'm still learning. That's kind of the point of this podcast, is to reach out to people who have a lot of knowledge and just, learn about the paranormal and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, you'll pick it up really fast, I think. Definitely.
Good deal.
Like I said, I'm a gadget person, so I've got a whole room full of equipment.
Oh, yeah. So what kind of equipment do you use, and what is your favorite kinds of equipment?
I have to say the favorite kinds are the DR60, that tape recorder I was telling you about. That's from the 1990s.
Oh, gotcha.
And the Panabox, the REM pod, and the SLS camera are musts for me.
Okay. And what do these devices do? Like, when you use them, what are they doing? What are they picking up? And how do you capture paranormal on them?
Okay, the SLS camera actually maps anomalies that they detect, and they kind of come out looking like a stick figure, more or less. And you can tell it's amazing. I'll say, could you please raise your right hand at me or wave to me? And they'll do it.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty cool. The REM pod goes off the electromagnetic frequency, the energy of the spirit. So, and it'll do you, if you put your hand close to it, it'll beep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the tape recorders are just, like I said, you can play it back the last 10 seconds and see immediately what you got. And you tend to get a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got a few Class A's last week. So, and then the spirit box, the Panabox, is just incredible. It has absolutely no static at all.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it really is. It's a wonderful piece of equipment.
That's awesome. I just use a spirit box that I bought online. I forget what website it came from, but this is a general spirit box, and you hear a lot of, you hear the switching, the going through radio channels, whatever. So it can be kind of obnoxious when you're listening to it. Yeah,
they feed off the white noise.
Right.
So, and a lot of times you can get, I've been able to carry on a conversation with them, which is incredible.
That is incredible. And we actually did that for the first time a few weeks ago. We had a full conversation, and it was definitely an experience.
Right. That is cool. I always love that when it happens.
Oh, yeah. And that's because of my wife. I'm telling you, she has that kind of attraction. If it was just me, I doubt I would have got much. But with her being there, it definitely opened up.
Yeah. Well, you never know, because, I mean, in my viewpoint, you have to gain trust from the spirit world. And that's what you do. The more you work it, the more trust you get. So I think virtually anybody can build up that trust with the spirit world and get good communication eventually.
That's a fair point. Absolutely. It's funny you said that, because my wife literally said the exact same thing. She said she wants to go back, because we've been to I told you before we started that we went to like my old newspaper building in my hometown. Yeah. And we went there twice now. And she wants to keep going back to gain that trust to get more. So it's like, you're in tune with each other. You have
Yeah, without a doubt. No, she's totally right.
That's excellent.
So I don't know, but it was like I say, sometimes we don't get any activity of the spirit. Like last night, we just got a few EVPs and no video and no real SLS. So we just kind of, based on the activity she had told us, and the fact that we weren't getting anything, we just went ahead and did the crossing over and cleanse. And like I say, she said things are great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's excellent. So how can they contact you? How do people contact you to do investigations?
I have a separate phone line. I work off like T-Mobile and Verizon. They allow you to get a second number on your phone. So I use that for the spirit line. And generally they call or they email or they text me.
Gotcha.
One of the three. So, and they find me through the web.
And that's Spirit Paranormal Investigations Texas.com.
Exactly.
Awesome.
You're good. So yeah, they always find me during the web. So I've spent a lot of time marketing and trying to get the word out. So, because I want to help as many people as I can.
Absolutely. And I love your point, I guess, is that's the kind of mentality that I appreciate, is you're out there to help people, not just to make fun of the spirits or whatever.
Exactly, because they're just people without a body right now, basically.
Absolutely.
And you got to treat them with respect. And the only issue is that they have free will in some of the investigations. So they can say, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So but we haven't run into that in a while. Since we started the crossing overs, we haven't run into that. So that's a blessing. I think it really makes a difference.
That's good. And so my question is, I'm trying, my whole point of this show is to learn. So when you do a crossing over cleanse, like what does that mean, and how did that, if you can tell me anyway, do you know how that works? Like what makes the spirit cross over with that?
Well, first I have a conversation with him and I ask him gently if he knows that he's dead and he needs to go on to a different world now. It's a whole nother life for him, where his friends and family are waiting. I tell him that I don't believe there'll be heavy judgment for them. And I call in the archangels, like I said, Archangel Azrael, the Archangel of Death, Archangel Michael, and Archangel Raphael, to open the portal for the light. And then we all visualize the light. So a lot of visualization. And then I say crossing over prayer. And then we always got to remember to close the portal, because if you leave it open, you never know what's going to come in.
Oh, yeah.
So then we close the portal and, thank the archangels. We always ask for the protection before, too. I forgot that.
That makes sense.
And then we go ahead and do the final cleanse, where basically the homeowner takes back their space. There's a prayer I found that's just perfect for that. She inserted her name in the prayer, and it's prayer to the angels to remove the negative and only leave the positive energy there. So it was perfect for the situation. So, and she noticed immediately the difference in the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah. So
yes.
I understand that very much. I can definitely tell when there's a negative energy or even a positive energy. Really, you definitely feel a difference.
Yeah. Exactly.
In your presence. So if you don't mind to tell me, like with the one you did last night in the investigation you just talked about, what was she experiencing before she called you guys?
She was locked out of her house. It's a new house for her. So she was locked out of her house. She went to the car to go get something. She knew she didn't lock the door. And she came back and she was locked out of the house. Luckily, she had a key to go in. She'd turn off the garage light at night and go into bed, and then she'd go check and the garage light would be on again. At one point, the bed started vibrating, and that's when she called me.
That's fair. I think I would call you too after a bed shaking. I've never experienced that.
I wouldn't too, quite frankly. So yeah, that's what she was. And again, she had gifts. So there again, she's like a beacon,
Oh, absolutely. And again,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, it's kind of funny. This is like the third time now you've mentioned something that is recent in my life as well. Because I told you before the show started that we're part of a website called alleverythingentertainment.com. And the owner of that website, his name is Tim. Like we talk and stuff. He never really believed in the paranormal. He still listened to my show, but he doesn't really believe in that side. And he moved into a new house recently. And the first thing that started happening was his doors started to lock by themselves. Like the garage door, his other doors, they'll just be locked out of nowhere while he was home. And that's how that started. And that was recently. That's really funny that that's the first thing you said that was at on her new house. The door started to lock.
He's a believer now?
I think so. I haven't actually directly asked him if he believes now, but he brings it up sometimes. So I think he might be.
Quite honestly, when I started, I was a little bit of a skeptic, but you start listening to those EVPs and that'll convince you right off the bat. You ask them, well, you ask them a question and they'll answer you.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue that, especially when they answer you directly. Like even with the spirit box, you could say, well, that's just a radio station somewhere. But
Right.
when they answer you directly and they say your name, you can't really argue
Exactly.
that.
Especially if it's, we've got girl Daria, it's not a common name. And when it says their name,
Absolutely.
So the spirit boxes are wonderful.
Absolutely. The first time I ever used a spirit box was in 2014. And as soon as the person, like the investigator that was with, she was very experienced and all of that. And the first thing the voice said was Ben. It's like, well, okay. And, so it's.
No, I know. You got your attention, huh?
Absolutely. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. I think it's real cool. I still get excited when I get the Class A EVPs.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a great thing.
So if you don't mind, if you can share, like, what are some of your like more intense experiences or some of your most memorable experiences as an investigator?
Yeah, those have to be, I tell you, I get warning signs from spirit if it's evil or demonic. And one thing they do is, this is weird, but they attack my tires on my car, a Mustang. So I get blowouts. I get double blowouts on it going to investigations. I mean, last year I had 5 double blowouts.
That's crazy.
It's just not usual.
That's pretty. And why do you think that happens? Like they're just trying to tell you not to go to that house, or what?
Yeah. And then three times I had a demonic before I even left. Well, one was in the middle of it. I was young. I was stupid. I was doing religious provocation, which I'll never do again. And instantly I got violently ill.
Oh, wow.
And a couple of times on the way to, quote unquote demonic, I never know until I get there, but I was about ready to walk out the door and I got instantly violently ill. So it's those 2 things that really stick out in my mind.
That's fair. That would be memorable.
Yeah, I know. I need a frequent tire replacement card.
That makes sense. You get like a AAA like discount for all of the tires you buy.
Yeah, I wish. I wish. They only let me have 4 a year, so
fair enough.
I kind of overrode that last year.
That's excellent. Well, hey, again, I really do appreciate you taking time today and hanging out on the show and telling me about your stuff. If I ever make it to Houston, I would definitely look you up.
Oh, without a doubt, there's tons of places we could go investigate. I'd love it.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I'd love to have you on the show again sometime in the future. I always love having people come back and tell me more about their experiences and all of that.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I'd love to.
I think it's awesome. Well, again, I super appreciate you. And be sure everybody to check out www.spiritparanormalinvestigationtexas.com. Did I get that right?
Yep. That's perfect.
And also be sure to check out Steph on LinkedIn. Is there anything else you want to...
we're also on Facebook.
Okay. And how do we find you on Facebook?
Houston Helps. Or Help Houston, sorry. At Help Houston.
At Help Houston on Facebook? Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, I got that written down. So when I do put this up, that'll all be on there. And again, super appreciate you hanging out on the show today. I had a great time.
Yeah, I did too. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to stay in touch and take care.
All right, you too. Sounds good. Bye-bye.
So again, huge thanks to Steph Brady for hanging out with me on the show today and talking about all her investigations and how she cleanses houses. I thought that was pretty incredible, as I just use the white sage when I cleanse. So it was really interesting for me to hear other techniques and other ways to do it. So huge thanks to Steph. And again, guys, be sure to check out her website at www.spiritparanormalinvestigationstexas.com, and be sure to check her out on Facebook at Spirit Help Houston. So huge thanks again. I really enjoyed talking to Steph. And I can't wait to keep talking to her in the future about new and exciting paranormal things. So yeah, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Paranormal Axetvities. Again, be sure to check me out on all of your favorite platforms, whether it be Apple, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. And also be sure to check out this show, Paranormal Activities, at alleverythingentertainment.com. You can also check out my other wrestling show, Regularly Scheduled Hostilities, with my co-host Josh DeBoard, on the same hosting podcasting platforms and also on alleverythingentertainment.com. And be sure to check out all the other awesome podcast articles, all the good stuff over at All Everything Entertainment. And at the end of the day, guys, let's just keep learning together.